The air in Seville, Spain, during the summer of 2024, hung heavy and still. It was a summer unlike any other in recent memory, a season defined not by leisurely afternoons and vibrant festivals, but by an oppressive, inescapable heat. The air itself did not move. It was as if the very atmosphere had become a thick, viscous substance, resisting any attempt at a breeze. The usual currents and winds that brought relief were absent, leaving the city trapped in a suffocating embrace. It pressed down on the city, turning cobblestone streets into skillets. The ancient stones, usually cool to the touch, radiated heat, baking the soles of shoes and turning every walk into an endurance test. The narrow alleyways, designed to provide shade, offered little respite from the relentless sun. Locals retreated indoors, seeking refuge in the cool embrace of air conditioning, siestas stretching into all-day hibernation. Homes and businesses were shuttered, windows sealed tight against the invading heat. The vibrant energy of Seville was replaced by a hushed stillness, a city holding its breath. Tourists, lured by Andalusia's romance, armed with guidebooks and dreams of sun-drenched adventures, wilted in the shade, their plans evaporating in the heat haze. The vibrant plazas and historic sites, usually bustling with activity, were eerily deserted, save for the occasional figure seeking refuge under a meager awning. Even the city's orange trees drooped, leaves limp under the relentless sun, their vibrant green dulled by the oppressive heat. The fragrant blossoms, usually a source of joy, seemed to emit a faint, mournful scent. This was not the warmth of a Mediterranean holiday, it was something menacing, a palpable threat that hung in the air. The heat wasn't just uncomfortable, it felt dangerous, a force to be reckoned with. Across Europe, from Portugal to Germany, the story was tragically similar. The same story played out. A continent accustomed to warm summers found itself battling unprecedented temperatures, pushing infrastructure and human resilience to their limits. Rome's Colosseum baked, its ancient stones absorbing and radiating the sun's fury. London's underground became a sweltering maze, a claustrophobic network of tunnels offering no escape from the oppressive heat, and the Thames crawled under a heavy sky, its waters sluggish and reflecting the hazy, oppressive atmosphere. Asphalt in Sardinia softened, becoming sticky and pliable underfoot. Railway lines in the UK buckled, disrupting travel and highlighting the vulnerability of infrastructure to extreme weather, and the rhythms of European life paused, replaced by anxious waiting for sunset and cooler temperatures. The usual hustle and bustle of daily life gave way to a collective sense of unease and anticipation. Nights brought little relief. Tropical temperatures denied bodies and buildings a chance to cool, making sleep a distant memory for many. The continent was learning firsthand that climate change was not a distant threat confined to scientific reports and political debates. The heat was a physical and psychological burden, a warning written in every stifling breath, a constant reminder of the fragility of life in the face of a changing climate. Europe's new summer reality had arrived, bringing with it a profound sense of urgency and a stark realization of the challenges ahead. Europe's heat waves are no longer rare, isolated incidents. They're becoming a disturbingly regular feature of our summers. What once seemed like an anomaly is now a recurring event, a stark reminder of the changing climate. They're the new normal, a reality we must confront and adapt to. The data doesn't lie, the trend is clear. We're not just talking about a slight increase in temperature, we're witnessing a fundamental shift in weather patterns. Once-in-a-generation events now happen almost every summer. What used to be a rare occurrence, something our grandparents might have mentioned, is now an annual threat. The headlines scream of record temperatures and unprecedented conditions, year after year. Records are shattered, not just broken. The old benchmarks are being obliterated, surpassed by margins that were once considered impossible. It's not just a degree or two, it's a dramatic leap into uncharted territory. Sicily hit 48.8 degrees Celsius in July 2023, a temperature that would have been unthinkable just a few decades ago. This wasn't just a hot day, it was an extreme event that pushed the limits of human endurance. The highest ever in Europe, a new high watermark in a worrying trend. This record serves as a stark warning of what the future may hold if we fail to take decisive action. These heat waves aren't just uncomfortable, they're not just about sweating a little more or needing an extra fan. They're deadly. They pose a significant threat to public health, particularly for the elderly, the vulnerable, and those with pre-existing conditions. Cities become heat islands, amplifying the effects of the heat waves, trapping warmth long after sunset, offering no respite from the sweltering conditions. The concrete and asphalt absorb the sun's energy during the day and release it slowly at night, creating a dangerous feedback loop. A single day of heat is tough. It can be draining and uncomfortable. A week or more is devastating. It pushes people to their limits, both physically and mentally. The cumulative effect of prolonged exposure to extreme heat can be catastrophic. Prolonged heat exhausts emergency services, stretching resources to the breaking point, strains power grids as everyone cranks up their air conditioning to escape the heat, and pushes bodies and infrastructure to the brink, threatening widespread disruption and collapse. Heat warnings now last for up to 2 weeks, signaling prolonged periods of danger, locking regions in a thermal prison with no end in sight. This is the result of a world more than 1.2 degrees Celsius warmer, a seemingly small number with enormous consequences, than before the industrial era. A period when human activity began to significantly alter the planet's atmosphere. Even a small shift in average temperature can have a dramatic impact on extreme weather events. Makes extreme heat far more common, increasing the likelihood of record-breaking temperatures and prolonged heat waves. The bell curve of weather has moved, shifting the distribution of temperatures towards the hotter end of the spectrum. And Europe is living the consequences, experiencing the devastating effects of a changing climate firsthand. This is the brutal math of global warming, a simple equation with devastating results. Every summer the stakes get higher and the risks become more acute. We must act now to mitigate the worst effects of climate change and protect future generations. The link between human activity and extreme heat is undeniable. Attribution science now shows, with high confidence, how much more likely heat waves are because of greenhouse gases. The UK's record-breaking heat in 2022 was made at least 10 times more likely by climate change. Burning fossil fuels has thickened the planet's heat-trapping blanket. The result? More heat, more records, more disasters. Wildfires in Greece, shrinking glaciers in the Alps, and red alerts in Italian cities are all symptoms of this human-caused imbalance. Public health warnings, emergency cooling centers, and anxious farmers are all part of the new reality. Every shattered record is a message from the atmosphere, written in our own emissions. The heat is not just weather, it's a consequence of our choices. Behind Europe's worst heat waves is the phenomenon known as a heat dome. Imagine a lid trapping hot air over a region. High pressure pushes air down, compressing and heating it. Clouds can't form, so the sun bakes the ground day after day. The heat builds, and the pattern gets stuck, sometimes for weeks. Climate change makes heat domes more frequent and intense. Arctic warming weakens the jet stream, causing weather patterns to stall. The result? Persistent, punishing heat. Human-caused warming raises the baseline, so every heat wave starts hotter. The hotter the planet, the more likely these domes become. It's a dangerous feedback loop, one that's already reshaping European summers. The atmosphere's new normal is relentless. Scientists are nearly unanimous. Human-driven climate change is fueling Europe's extreme heat. Dr. Friederike Otto and others confirm nearly every heat wave today is intensified by our emissions. Europe is warming faster than any other continent, with recent years among the hottest ever recorded. The data is clear: the continent is absorbing excess energy and it's showing up as dangerous heat. Compound events, heat plus drought, create vicious cycles, devastating agriculture and fueling megafires. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change states with high confidence heat extremes have increased since the 1950s, and human influence is the cause. These are not future projections. They're today's reality. The science links fossil fuels, rising temperatures, and unbearable heat. The message is not opinion, it's physical reality. The warnings are urgent, and the evidence is overwhelming. Europe's intensified heat waves have unleashed catastrophic wildfires and agricultural crises. Drought and record heat turn forests and fields into tinderboxes, one spark, and infernos rage. Recent megafires in Greece and Portugal have burned for weeks, creating their own weather and releasing vast carbon stores. Smoke travels for thousands of kilometers, choking cities far from the flames. Agriculture is in crisis. Spain and Italy's olives, grapes, and tomatoes are withering. Drought means not enough water for crops, rivers, and reservoirs run low. The famous terroirs of Europe are changing, threatening the future of wine and olive oil. Farmers face existential threats and food prices rise across the continent. The land itself is warning us our ability to feed ourselves is at risk. The scorched earth is a glimpse of a precarious future. Extreme heat is a public health emergency. The body's cooling systems can fail, leading to dehydration, heat stroke, and death. In 2022, over 61,000 heat-related deaths were recorded in Europe. The most vulnerable, elderly, children, outdoor workers, are at greatest risk. Heat worsens air quality, triggers asthma, and spreads wildfire smoke loaded with toxins. Mental health suffers too, as relentless heat disrupts sleep and heightens anxiety. Hospitals and emergency services are overwhelmed, and many buildings lack adequate cooling. The crisis is forcing a rethink of public health and urban design. The rising death toll is a stark measure of our failure to adapt. Europe's infrastructure was built for a cooler era, and it's failing in the heat. Railways buckle, roads melt, and airports struggle as tarmac softens and planes lose lift. Power grids are strained by soaring demand, while heat reduces the efficiency of power plants. Water shortages force plants to shut down, risking blackouts at peak demand. Buildings, designed to retain heat, become dangerous traps. Retrofitting for cooling is now a matter of survival. The failures of our infrastructure are costly reminders adaptation is an engineering and economic challenge. The world we built no longer fits the world we live in. The cracks are showing and widening. The science is clear, unequivocally clear. Decades of research, countless studies, and the observable changes happening around us all point to one undeniable truth. Our climate is changing, and it's changing fast. If emissions stay high, today's heat waves will seem mild, almost nostalgic in comparison to what's coming. We're talking about a future where extreme weather events become not just common, but devastatingly routine. 40-degree summers could become routine in London and Paris. What were once considered exceptional heat waves will simply be the norm, impacting daily life and infrastructure. Southern Europe may see 50 degrees. Imagine the impact on agriculture, tourism, and the very ability to live and work outdoors. The consequences are far-reaching and devastating, impacting every facet of our lives and societies. Mass heat deaths, particularly among the elderly and vulnerable populations, will become a grim reality. Crop failures, food shortages, leading to widespread hunger and instability, especially in regions already struggling with food security. And climate migration. Millions will be forced to leave their homes, seeking refuge from drought, floods, and other climate-related disasters, creating unprecedented humanitarian crises. Tourism and water security would collapse, crippling economies and exacerbating existing inequalities. And some regions could become uninhabitable. Coastal areas will be submerged, and arid regions will become even drier, forcing mass displacement and societal breakdown. But this future is not set in stone. We still have the power to change course and avert the worst impacts of climate change. Every fraction of a degree we avoid matters. Each tenth of a degree of warming we prevent translates to less suffering, less damage, and a more sustainable future for all. The solution is clear and achievable. Rapidly cut greenhouse gas emissions, transitioning away from fossil fuels and embracing cleaner alternatives. Shift to renewables, investing in solar, wind, and other clean energy sources to power our economies. Electrify transport, replacing gasoline-powered vehicles with electric cars, buses, and trains. And make agriculture sustainable. Adopting farming practices that reduce emissions, conserve water, and protect biodiversity. The choice is urgent and non-negotiable. We must act now, with boldness and determination, to avoid the worst consequences of climate change. We stand at a crossroads, a pivotal moment in human history. One path leads to escalating disaster, a world of extreme weather, resource scarcity, and widespread suffering. The other to a livable world, a future powered by clean energy with thriving ecosystems and resilient communities. It requires action from governments, businesses, and individuals now. We all have a role to play in building a sustainable future. The heat waves are a fever symptom of a sick planet, a clear sign that our planet is in distress and needs immediate care. We know the diagnosis and the cure. The science is clear and the solutions are available. The only question that remains is